lot. So it's just really useful. You know, even though Ava's background is within broadcast, within filmmaking, within production, whatever course you're on, it's great to hear from these creative people in media. The other thing I was going to ask of you, of course, is make sure that you are putting your questions in the Q&A and that you are not just flooding the chat with memes. Like, please don't do that. We don't need this to be popping off, you know, 24/7. Fine if you want to have a little bit of a chat in the chat, but like, can we not make it like mad meme? And get some good questions in for Ava. So, Ava, do you want me to do any kind of introduction, or do you just want to get on with introducing yourself?
I can go ahead.
Wonderful. I'll hand over to you then, Ava.
Hi guys. So where do I start? I was thinking about starting from education because you guys
Sounds
are still in
good.
education. So let's go with that. So a lot of you are film, TV, media students. So you might have the choice to go to university. So my journey really began at university. I studied media production at Birmingham City University. I chose that course because it was very practical. It had the perfect balance of hands-on learning and just enough theory to give context. So it gave you so much opportunity to just produce loads of content. What really stood out for me was that they assessed us on our creative application, which is exactly how the media industry actually works. So you're constantly given creative briefs to interpret and execute them. So right from the first year, I was already building a portfolio of content. I chose Birmingham City University because of the strong industry connections. A lot of tutors and technicians, they had come directly from the industry. So because of that, there were always opportunities to get involved with real productions. The university's facilities were so good that professional productions would sometimes hire them. They'll come in, use the studios, use the galleries, and a lot of the time they would get students involved. It benefited us because we got that part of our work experience hours, and we also needed placements. So it benefited them too because, well, it's cheaper to hire students to do the work, but you also benefit from having the content that you worked on with these guys to add to your portfolio of work. You're gaining skills, knowledge, and experience from them. And also you just get to fill up those hours. So that's your module done. I made a point to volunteer as much as possible. I spent time in the studios, helped out in the galleries, and gradually, sorry, I just saw a notification. Someone's waiting in the lobby.
All right, I'll sort it.
Gradually became really familiar with equipment and how real production environments worked. Eventually that led to me getting a studio assistant and evening technician role at the university, which meant not only helping students, but also supporting external companies that came in to use our facilities. So I'd help with managing the bookings and make sure everything ran smoothly for them. So what I learned from that experience was that in the industry, being present, reliable, and willing to get involved makes all the difference. So if people see that you're dependable and professional, they remember you, and that's how new opportunities come your way, essentially. So when broadcasters or production companies call the university looking for students, they may have a scholarship or a internship or work placements that they need to fill up. They call the university and say, I have this opportunity. And then they will ask the curriculum manager maybe, do you have any students that you would want to put forward? And I know that because I did all those extra work placements and volunteered as much, that's why the university said, yes, I know the perfect student for you. And that trust is what opened doors up for me. Through that, I got like loads of work experience working with cameras. So I did some work experience with the BBC, filming B-roll and V-roll for the West Midlands Sports Award. And then I later applied for the Sky Scholarship Scheme, which was 2 weeks. They paid for everything. They gave you money for your travel down to London. They covered you for 2 weeks rent and travel from where you're living to the studios, and it was just basically a quick work experience, which it goes on to what I'm gonna talk to you guys about the actual role I had at Sky. But because I did that because I got that scholarship scheme for 2 weeks, and I got to experience what it's like working at Sky for 2 weeks, it later encouraged me to apply for the starting out scheme. So they did a starting out scheme again, so that's aimed at for students to come down and they can spend a year. Sometimes it was more. Mine was like nearly a year and a half. And it's really, you get to be placed in different departments, experience multiple roles, and then later on you get to decide which department you want to specialize in, stay in, and you can be offered a permanent contract depending on how well you're doing. So yeah, that journey from volunteering at uni to paid studio work to getting some work experience and then finally Sky. So that really showed me that every opportunity builds on the last one. It's not just about technical skills, but about professionalism, teamwork, showing people that they can trust you to represent them well. And yeah, that's how I got into the Sky role. Keep going.
Cool. So tell us a bit more about the Sky role.
So the Sky role was content services. So not many people know what that is. I didn't know what that was when I first started. It was from media production. You know, there's pre-production, production, and then post-production, which is usually planning, filming, editing. But then there's another part, it's called post-production, and they call that content services there in Sky. So what you got to imagine is a carousel of content. So at Sky, content comes in at one point, travels through a series of specialist teams, and by the time it's gone the full circuit, it's ready to be seen by like millions of viewers. So there's media operations or media management. So in that department, you have hundreds of media coordinators. This team handles the initial ingest. They take in all the content, whether that's finished programs, promotional materials, rushes from production. They check the technical specs, name the files correctly, and make sure everything's in the right format and store it safely on our systems for the next stage. They acquire basically and then distribute later. So for example, they worked with Disney, they worked with Paramount, they worked from loads of other production studios and companies. If there's a particular film or series that they wanted on their platforms, whether that's so they have Now TV, they have Sky Go on all devices. They have sorry, they have quite a few. The way they distribute the material. Yeah. Sorry, I saw a hand up. So yeah, so they acquired it and then they distributed it to the departments first that it needed to be processed through. So one of them was stills, that stills and promos team. That's another team I worked with. From there, some of the material, especially images, they goes to the stills team. They create and edit promotional and advertising images that will be used across Sky platforms. So when you first turn on the television and let's say you've got Sky, you'll see the big blue and you'll see the banner at the top. They edit that. Every single image for the thumbnails for every single episode or film, they edit those too. So they are just the ones ensuring that every show looks visually appealing before it's released to the public, basically. They have another department called Access Services. So an essential part of the process that makes Sky content inclusive and accessible. This is where subtitles, audio description, and sign languages are added. So people with hearing or visual impairments can enjoy the same content experience as everyone else. So it's very detailed oriented and meaningful part of the process. So when I said I want to go over there, they said, ask me what kind of person I am. And I said, I am I'm not not an organization freak, but everything needs to be correct. And they said, yeah, you'll be perfect in this team. Definitely come over to us. And it was just making sure that everything was, yeah, perfect, basically. Another department they have for perfectionism is quality control. So once the content has been accessibly features, one of its accessible features is and promotional materials sorted, it goes through quality control or QC. This team performs meticulous checks on picture, sound, and captions and technical compliance to ensure what goes on air and online meets Sky's high broadcast standards. But yeah. And then we have operations and playout. So after QC signs off, their content is ready for operations. The team responsible for scheduling and playout. So they're in a gallery, a big room with many, many screens, and they have each content loaded up, ready to click play. This is for live usually. I'm thinking, do they? No, I think it is just for live. But it's usually Sky News, Sky Sports, so the football is usually always on. So if you like football, you might want to apply for that. You can just sit there watching it all day, reruns. Yeah. And then they also have quality assurance. So that's another department I worked for. It's very similar to QC, but QC is prior to publication, and QA is after they publish. They put it online. So like everything's already on the TV, on the iPads, the apps, etc. So we check it from the audience perspective, to make sure like the subtitles again are correct. If it's not correct, we'll message Access, we'll send them an email, say can you take this down and then re-upload it correctly. We make sure that the correct artwork appears for each episode. So for example, there was a Sky Kids launch, and they were launching this channel for Sky Kids, and we were checking each photo to make sure everything's PG, and we found a picture from Friends on the thumbnail for I think it was some sort of animation, and we thought, okay, that is a serious issue, we need to take that down, it might not be appropriate. So they quickly got that down, corrected it, and put the correct image up. So it's not just subtitles and pictures, but it's also the format. So for example, if they've uploaded it as a HD content, whereas SD, which was the previous Sky model, the little boxes rather than having Sky built directly into your television. So if the format was incorrect as well, would flag that and get that corrected. So yeah, when you put it all together, content services is just a wide media operations carousel. It's an engine basically. So it's every image, every subtitle, every second of video you see on Sky platforms has passed through like skilled workers, and they make sure it's technically perfect, accessible, and ready for audiences everywhere.
So that's really interesting, because that's not something that I would have ever even thought of. Now you said it, I'm like, okay, obviously they do that. That needs to happen, and it makes total sense that sort of workflow is in place. But I'm guessing a lot of the people on the call would be like me and have just not really considered that there was this whole other part of the operation. It's kind of almost in people's heads. They probably think, once that content is made, once the show is made, someone presses a button and that's it. And I'm guessing that there's been a lot of growth in this part of TV over the last few years as we move over to streaming services and things like this. So a lot of this must be quite new. There must be quite new jobs in a lot of ways, right?
100%. So a lot of people have moved from production or post-production into content services. I think it's a bit more stable. So like when you're working in production or post-production, you're waiting for the jobs to come in. And if you just want to stay in one area and you want to stay within the industry and be part of making the magic happen, content services is usually a favorable area to go to. So there's a lot of people with experience in filming and editing and just actual production and pre-planning production that will go to content services because they can their skills are applicable.
Yeah. Is it I mean, I might be completely wrong about this, but I'm wondering if it's a part of the industry where youth can be on your side in a way. Because I know, having spoken to a couple of other people who work in TV and have been through our courses and got into the TV industry, they've sort of talked about how their knowledge of social media, of how kind of things are marketed, have really helped them, because some of the old hands there are a bit more like, they're just interested in making the TV show and that's it. Is that, do you think that would be a fair characterization, that it might be kind of useful to be young and coming into a role like this?
Yes, they have a lot of young people. That's why that's why they have multiple schemes. So they don't just have the scholarship and the Starting Out scheme. They have Skills Academy. They have young people from school. So like they've got 14 to 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, all they're learning this and applying what they know about media. And essentially what Sky does is learn from them as much as we
Yeah.
teach them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So just going back a little bit then, because you mentioned that you did, I can't remember what it was called. I've been making notes and I think I failed to write it down. But some sort of scholarship work experience program with Sky. Um, so so how did you go about applying for that? How challenging was it to apply? I'm guessing that there are a lot of applications, so you've got to do something to make yourself stand out. Could you tell us a bit about that?
So essentially the university have the connections, but so this great guy, his name's Steve. He comes down to the university. He goes to a couple of universities actually, and he just gives a talk and says, "We do this scholarship. We want you to apply." They get hundreds a year, and they sift through them. And the ones that make it, I think they do like, when I did it, they took 5 of us from our university. But yeah, there is a process. So I think there's 3 interviews and 1 application that you have to submit, and it's usually just 5 questions. So they won't ask you for your CV, they won't ask you for your portfolio. It's mainly about your soft skills, and that's what they're looking for. So they want to look at your personality. Are you someone that's professional? Are you someone that's committed? Are you someone that's really motivated? Or, that's the kind of thing they look for. So they're not really looking for you to be really, really good in, I don't know, camera work or editing, because they teach you all of that when you go over to do that placement. So it's not, they don't just throw you into the deep end. You're continuously getting trained. The scholarship is only 2 weeks. I applied for that 3 times before I got that. And then the Starting Out scheme, I applied for that. I think that was also 3 times before I got that. And the thing is, they will always give you feedback and you can work on it and apply again. So I think they do it once or twice a year. I think that year they did it twice because they just missed COVID. So they said, okay, we'll do twice and give them, I think there was like a staggered like enrollment kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
So
yeah,
there's a
so they will
really
always
good
give you,
lesson there about perseverance, about tenacity, and showing that bit of resilience, because rejection's hard, right?
yeah, 100%. And you will always feel down a bit after you get that. But as soon as you get the feedback and you realize, okay, so they liked certain parts about you, there's just certain attributes that you need to change for the next interview. And if you answer those the way they're looking for, or if you really impress them or shock them or surprise them, that will really appeal to them. So yeah.
Yeah. And could you pinpoint what it was you did differently the time that you got accepted?
So I think the first 2 times I did not ask for feedback. Sorry, the first time I did
Mm.
not ask for feedback. The second time when I got rejected, I said, okay, I want to be here. I want to be working here. I want to see what's going on, because this looks like an amazing company. It looks like a little village, a little community. And I want to be part of it all. And I just said to them, what can I do differently? What is wrong with me? So asking for feedback as well. That I think is the fact, it's not the how I acted based on the feedback. I think it's the fact that I asked for feedback. They were impressed, because a lot of people, they get rejections and then they will never apply again. But if you show that you really, really, really want it, they will consider you.
Yeah, that's good. It's really good. And so I'm sort of doing this reverse chronology. I don't know why we've ended up going backwards, but I thought you were really what the information you gave us about university was really interesting, because I think obviously firstly we've got a lot of students on the call who will be thinking about uni in next September or the September after. And it seems like you really kind of did your due diligence. You really looked at the unis and thought what they could offer you, and you chose Birmingham very carefully. You know, how many unis did you look at? What was the process you went through to make that decision?
So, okay, sorry, this is going to sound odd. So when I was applying for uni, obviously you did it for UCAS, you applied for 5 universities. I applied for law, and so I looked at Cardiff University, I looked at all the Russell groups, and then I thought, okay, let me throw Birmingham City University in there. It seems like a cool place. Birmingham just seems like a vibrant city. Manchester. And then when we did the open days and I walked in and I was completely lost, and I asked this woman, she just seemed so chirpy and happy to see everyone there. So where is the law school? And she said to me, oh, okay, so that's the other part of town, so I had to get across city. But I think she noticed that I was looking around and I was so impressed by the campus. We just started having a discussion. She said, do you want me to give you a tour? And then she gave me a tour of the studio and the gallery, and I was so impressed. And I realized, I think that was the moment I thought, yeah, I should not be studying law, I should be doing media. This looks amazing. Like, I would love to work here in this environment all the time rather than an office. And she said, oh, okay, that's amazing, because I'm the curriculum manager here, the course director, sorry. And she said, oh, we're still taking applications. You should apply for my course. So she kind of changed my life. She redirected my whole career.
Yeah. But I love that story, because that really speaks to how, you know, nothing's set in stone. And especially when you're younger, it's common and easier to kind of have these big changes of direction. And I really liked also what you said. I think it's important for these guys to understand how much of this is about your soft skills, because the tech skills, they're important, but in a lot of ways, they're skills that almost anyone can learn given the time and the opportunity. Whereas the soft skills are more about how you carry yourself, how you are towards people, and those are ones that really make the difference, right? Those are the ones that make you a valuable member of a team.
I think if you go to an interview, most interviews, no matter which industry it is, they will ask you more questions about soft skills rather than your expertise in technical skills, because it's actually they are choosing the person that they are going to spend 9 to 5 with for years in the same combined building. They want to make sure that you are enjoyable to be around.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. They want someone who's going to turn up on time and not be a dick.
Exactly.
It's basically it, right?
Yeah.
So couple of other things I wanted to ask you before getting on to the sort of the next phase of your career, and then after that we can go to the Q&A, because there's loads of great questions in the Q&A. But I picked up on something, again, I could be wrong about this. You talked about how important it is to demonstrate dependability, reliability, professionalism, but then I thought, like, to me it seems quite obvious what you actually need to do to demonstrate that. But then I thought, well, like, maybe for these guys, you know, at their age, maybe it's not so obvious. Like, what do you actually do to build this reputation as someone who's dependable and reliable and professional, what do you need to do?
Okay. So in the creative industry is all fun. It's a lot of fun. So you can get easily distracted by the fact that by the people you're with and the things that you're doing, you get easily distracted and you forget that at the end of the day, this is a job. We have to be professional. So a lot of people will mess around or too much banter and things are not getting done. And now it's affecting production. And now these people don't want to work with us and these people don't want to book our studios. And they've entered the space and it's completely messy and unorganized and we don't have the answers. So I think my organizational skills and the way I always follow back. So like if someone has told me something, I will send them an email confirmation saying, by the way, I have booked this for this day. Can you please tell me what you need for that? And I will note that down. I'll put in a file note thing behind the risk assessments. Everything will be done. And then they'll see that email and they say, okay, she's done this. She's written everything down. There's a record of it. She's gone out of her way to do a risk assessment, give notes just in case. So I think it's going the extra mile and just keeping your diary busy. So like if you have a calendar on your laptops and just showing them that if they see that over your shoulder or something, they will notice, okay, this person's very, very organized and they're submitting things on time and they are feeding back the same information they've fed you weeks before. They will notice that you are on top of things and they look for that and they want to work with people like that.
It's great advice. Love that. And that's something that a lot of people have to learn, by the way. Like, it's some people, maybe they have that natural inclination towards being organized, but like a lot of you at home might be thinking, that's not me. I'm not that person. But you can learn it. And there's so much stuff out there. There are so many platforms out there now to help you become better at that side of things. I mean, it's not something I have a natural inclination towards, and although my job is way less exciting than a lot of jobs in media, I still do have to have those organizational skills and I have to practice them because they're not natural to me, but you can practice them, can't you?
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. So leaping forward, you were at Sky for a while. How long were you there in the end?
About a year and 4 or 5 months.
But you did decide in the end that wasn't for you. You wanted to move on. So tell us, or tell us about that.
So in the background, I was also working on production. So I missed production. So being on set, being around cast, being around crew, the magic of all. And so I did that in the background. Around COVID time, I was approached by a young actor who in Nottingham who said, I'm an actor. I work. I'm struggling breaking into this industry, but I've started writing, and I think I want to produce some films. And he came from a BAME background, so that's Black and minority ethnicity, and his stance was that there isn't enough representation behind the camera, and there isn't enough representation on screen. And so he started writing content that he would want to see. So I read the script, and I fell in love with it. And he said, "Can you help me produce it? Because I know I've seen your portfolio, I've seen your website, I can see that you've done quite a few pieces. Can you help me produce this?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." And he went on to Government House and started a production company, and then he started recruiting some other people to work with, and they just started making films. And I was essentially a consultant, giving them the advice, everything to do with pre-production. So that was scheduling, that was booking, scouting for locations, scouting for cast, scouting for crew, putting out casting calls, doing risk assessments, booking transportation and accommodation for casting crew. It was all the pre-production stuff, so that he could create his film. And I just wanted to see this out because I really wanted to be a part of it. And I thought, even if it doesn't go anywhere, at least I can add it to my portfolio and I get to be back on set where all the magic happens. So that one didn't actually go anywhere, but then we just continued doing that in the background. And then towards the end of my stint at Sky, he said to me, he dropped me an email, said, "Hi, I know you're in London, but I've received an email from the New Art Exchange in Nottingham. The Arts Council England have given them some money and they want to commission a film. Can you help me again? Because I don't think I can do this without you again." I said, "Okay, I can do it, but I'm gonna have to take some time off work." And I said, after we did it, we finished filming, and they exhibited it for one of their exhibitions. So yeah, they screened it for one of their exhibitions, and it went so well. All the tickets sold out. I think it was, trying to remember who it was, but someone from Broadway Cinemas. They were in the screening, and they said, "Oh, we want to screen this at Broadway Cinema." And I said, "Okay, that seems like a lot of work. I don't think I can do both now, but I already committed to helping them execute this project out." And there was some reshoots that we needed to do. And so what I decided to do was leave London, come back, do freelance production and consultation, and just go by ear.
That's quite a big risk, I guess.
Oh, 100%, yeah. So I think it depends on what your intentions are in this industry, because a lot of people are motivated by the kind of content they want to produce. So freelance gives you that freedom of choosing the kind of projects you work on. Working in the industry like Sky or BBC, or it is more stable. I won't lie to you. You've got like an ongoing contract, whereas for freelance it just comes and goes, and sometimes you can have dry months or years even. But if you genuinely enjoy it, you got to choose what you got to prioritize the things you enjoy in life.
Yeah. You've ultimately you've chosen what you're passionate about over what's stable, and that's. I mean, I can't fault that. That's a really good idea. Cool. Is there anything else you want to tell us about your career so far, or should I go over to Q&A?
I've learned a lot of lessons, and I think the one advice I'd give is, if you really, really enjoy a particular area, like camera operating or editing, specialize as soon as possible. And put a lot of time and effort and practice into those areas. Whereas if you still don't know what you're doing, it's okay to explore, because I think I did a 360 like twice. And I'm not quite 100% sure where I'm going, but I do know that I'm enjoying the process, and it's just the journey, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that. It's great. All right, I'm going to hit you with some student questions. It's a classic question, but it's a good one from Lee Beckworth Morris. What is the best thing you've ever produced? What are you most proud of?
I'd say the last film, just because. So that was the short film that was screened at Broadway, I think.
What's it called?
Guguletu.
How do I spell that?
Gugulethu.
Cool. And I'm just seeing if there's anywhere we can find that online. Oh yeah, looks like it's there on YouTube. Urban Line Studio. I'll post that in the comments.
So that one, we worked with Brownstone Studios in Bristol. They came up. She co-produced it with the writer of this film, and I was the production manager. And then I turned into the production coordinator. We were very, very understaffed. And then I turned into assistant director. So one thing about freelance is if you're working in a small group, you will take more than one role. So that's why it's good to be a jack of all trades and understand how your roles and responsibility in each position. So then you can support in any way needed. But definitely that film, just because the environment we created, it was about giving minorities a chance to work on a set. It was giving young people. So we went to Confetti actually, and we got some students. They did some lighting rigging. We got an actor from that big acting school in London. Forgot what it's called.
RADA?
Yeah, was it RADA? No, I'm not sure.
Royal Academy of the Dramatic Arts?
No.
There's another one in there. What's the other one? I can't remember. I know what you mean.
Came up and she did her thing. She was acting in it. She's got loads of people from everywhere. We got a theatre, someone working in theatre for The Lion King, and she did the props and costumes. So it was just amazing, like working with a community of creatives that just needed to do something. Like they were struggling to get into the industry and they just needed a chance. So that's the whole point of that film was.
I love that sort of do-it-yourself attitude. It's brilliant. Yeah. So Evie asks, what do you feel motivates or drives you?
I think helping people and consulting. So hence why I'm now trying to get my PGC and teach. So a lot of people always approach me and ask me, can you help me with the certain areas? For example, they needed content creating, so I did some content creating for New Art Exchange, or they needed help with pre-production, or how do you apply for a permit to film in Nottingham in certain local public areas. And I just realized a lot of people are asking me how to do stuff, and I think that's what motivates me. So that's why I'm now verging into teaching.
Love it. Red asks, what do you think has been your most impactful experience whilst working within the industry? Good word, impactful.
So during the Sky stint, so there was the Queen's death, and we didn't know what was happening. So like we was just sat in a room and logging images, and for some reason they came in and said we need loads of images of the Queen, historical images, and we was like, why? What's going on? And no one knew, and they just had us doing it all day, and that's not usually our work, the way we work. But it became a priority, and then when the news broke out and we saw, oh, okay, that's why, and then you're seeing your stuff on screen, and it's so early in your career, and you're like, oh, okay, this is on TV, millions of people are watching it. Or even just when I was doing the picture editing and I edited my first film promo picture, and I saw the image on the Sky television, and I went home and my dad was watching TV, and I was like, I edited that. So I think that was the biggest impact, like seeing your contributions actually seen by loads of people.
Yeah. So she died right at the start of term, and I was doing an induction task with our journalism students. I got them to think. I was like, right, so imagine that the Queen dies. Like, how would that news travel? Like, what would the headline would you come up with, that sort of thing? And then, like, the next day she died. So all my students were like, you killed her. I was like, I didn't. Okay, really good question. But as runners, what do you think separates the ones that move up quickly from the ones who sort of get stuck at that level?
Networking, definitely networking. So I think a couple of the students I went to, well, the adults now, a couple of people that I went to university with, they started off doing running. I think he started off doing football grounds, and then he's gone up level. So he did BBC Strictly, he's done Love Island, and now he's actually moved up a level. And I think it's consistency and then networking. So there are loads of channels on like Facebook as well. So yes, you can use LinkedIn and you can use the normal typical ways of applying for being a runner. But I think networking is the main one. So apply on those. You can find those ones on the social media pages, especially for the kind of content that you want to be working on. So if you do like reality TV and you want to be a runner for reality TV, usually they advertise that on social media. And if you get that position, make sure you are consistently networking. Take a picture of yourself on set, which can be cheeky. Post that online so that you've got evidence that you've done this before and you can you've been around this environment and you know how to conduct yourself. And then whilst you're out there as well, network. So you speak to the people around you. What are you working on next? Speak to your managers, your line managers. Ask them, oh, is there anything else coming up soon? How do you think my performance was? Obviously not whilst they're filming, leave it to an appropriate time. And just ask them, is there anything that you might be able to put me forward for so that I can continue? And then usually shadowing is really good. So even at Sky, I shadowed different departments. I really wanted to be in promos and campaigns, and I literally just asked my line manager, can I have some time to go shadow in another department? Because what you'll find is it's not competitive. So they actually want you to develop your skills and your career. So if you say, can I go shadow this person for a week or a couple of days or something, and rub shoulders as much as possible, make sure they like you, love your personality, and then apply. So make sure you shadow first and then apply. So if there's
Great.
I think you can go up to from runner to assistant. You can be assistant directors, but you can also be coordinators as well. So you help with the admin stuff. So even if that's making teas and coffees, once you get to the production coordinator bit, still make those teas and coffees.
Cool. I love that. That's really, really useful. So Ryan Austin asks, how does producing for Sky differ from other broadcasters or streaming platforms?
Oh, I didn't produce for Sky.
Well, so I guess essentially, how does Sky and you working for Sky, what's different about the vibes at Sky compared to other big broadcasters? Any insights there?
So every company has different values. So I know BBC can be very professional. Sky is they have a big thing about environmentally friendly. So there's actually a course that you can do for environmental something in the industry, especially the film and TV industry. They like that qualification. They have healthy lifestyle. So they've got like a gym and they've got like they focus on well-being and stuff like that. So it's very much more relaxed. Whereas I think BBC was like, go, go, go. You hardly see anyone. Send things over as soon as possible. So I think it depends on what each company's values are.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So a few people have asked questions around what it's like to be a woman in the industry, what it's like to be a person of color in the industry. There's obviously some intersection there as well. So I just wondered if you could tell us a little bit about how you feel that may or may not have impacted your experiences in the industry. Yeah, what you've felt.
I think as being a woman of color, it can be difficult because you don't want to give off the wrong impression, basically. And so then you kind of you suppress yourself, you try and make yourself small and quiet, but then they will perceive that as you're not interested. So I think the best way is to be yourself, be loud, if you're allowed, be vibrant, be comedic. I think be yourself and try and be confident, because yes, there are times where you're gonna feel like you're being spoken down to, but this industry is there's so much pressure, so you can't take too much personally. Obviously there are some things that come personal, but I think persevere, be yourself, have your voice, so use your voice as much as possible, and try and not, and also we're always told we have to work twice as hard, so just work twice as hard rather than say, oh, I've done the same as this person, why am I not here yet? Do twice as much as them, and then say that you want to be here. Don't ask, tell.
It's awful though that you're still in that position where you've got to do twice as much work. Do you think that there's still a lot of misogyny and a lot of racism in the industry?
It depends on who you work with, because I had a really, really great line manager, and even my department managers, they were so kind and they were so supportive. Anything that you come to them with, say, I want to be here, what do I need? I want to be at this level, what do I need to do to be at this level so that I'm not overlooked over other people? And they will tell you that and keep a log. And there is still some, because like even now on set, you could be saying something, you could have the answers to something could be kicking off, scheduling's gone off, our cast and crew are understaffed, or it doesn't matter, but you may have the answers and you can be overshadowed by louder voices, especially men. But if you pull them to the side rather than try and shout over them, and let them know you have the answer, are you willing to hear it, or do you want to continue? Because at the end of the day, it's not a competition. You're kind of working as a team in this industry, so you can't do everything yourself, and you need to just try and collaborate. And if you just need to be heard, just pull them to the side and say, I have the answers, hear me out.
Cool, love that. Thank you. Jacob Taylor asks, what would you have done, or would you have done anything differently in your career so far?
I think I would have specialized. I enjoyed checking every area out, but I think it would be really cool to be really good at one particular thing, like editing, or for example, like I started editing and then I started looking at DaVinci and I got overwhelmed and I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I don't want to do it anymore. Let me check out what other areas there are. I think persevere in the areas in which you have actual interest in, because those skills are of so much value in the industry, especially when you're out of work for a while. If you are an expert at editing, you will find something to hold you down for a while. Whereas if you just do something very broad, like production coordinating, you have to wait till there's a film come in, or you got to find another film, another company that's also needs a production coordinator, but usually they already have their little black book of people that they usually call. So it's like it's a lot more difficult. So specialize in a particular area, get really, really, really good at it, put your work out there as much as possible, and from an early, and leave them on there so that you can see the development, the growth that you've gone through.
Great, thank you for that. Winnie asks, if you could have taken any other role in Sky, what would that have been and why?
I think I would have gone towards the broadcast side. So the content services was one building. Content services was one building, but in that same building on the other side, they had the floor for the news, which just seemed chaotic, like you see in the films. And there was a floor for sports, and that was a little more chill. And there was huge studios and galleries, and I think I missed that. So that year and a half, I missed being in a studio or on set or in a gallery. So I think I would have gone to the broadcast side and tried to look at possibly journalism.
Great. Chris Walker says, are there any challenges that come with content services in particular that make that job extremely challenging?
I'd say the 12-hour shifts. The 12-hour shifts. So
Wow.
TV is 24 hours. So we had a night shift and a day shift, and every 8 weeks you'd do a night shift, and trying to adapt. Obviously, it was 4 days on, 4 days off, so you had a great work-life balance. But when that 8 weeks rolled over and it was trying to readjust your body clock to the daytime, now you've got a good 2-3 weeks where you're on auto.
Cool. Sorry, I'm just looking through the questions. Because I'm wary of time. We're going to wrap it up in a minute, but I mean, I kind of like it when a student asks this question because it's straight in there. How much do you earn as a content producer at Sky, or a content? I've forgotten the name of the role. Very tired. Content coordinator, was it you were called?
So I was doing production Sorry, I was in media management, which is media coordinator. Yeah. Is that the area she wants to know?
Yeah.
Or is it all? Okay, so
yes,
I believe the starting salary is 34. I think every year it changes because of obviously inflation and that, but it goes up. The starting out scheme, you are on a lot lower, so it's about 10k difference. So I think it was 24,000, because you're not really doing. You are doing the work, but the expectations of you is very low, and you're essentially in training for a good year and a half, and you get to move from department to department, and you just so you do have assigned work, but it's not the priority unless you actually volunteer for the priority. Whereas the more pressure they put on you, so for example, we had experts in there, they were making double because they were editing for the Sky Comedy specials, like or the sorry, what's that program? The sports program, the studio thing, where there's the comedians they're talking about. Yeah. So if they're editing promo from fresh and from just actual photos of the studio photos of the stars, and they're creating everything from start to finish, you make a lot more because your level of skill. Whereas if you're working off content that's been acquired from another studio or broadcaster or production company, you're working with photos that just need edits and need the logo stamped on there, or just need retouching, or the background changed, or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for your insights, Ava. We're just about at time, I think. We're just getting to 11 o'clock, and an hour of your time is plenty to take up. I know you got lots on. So Ava's actually, she's based with us at the moment. So as well as all the production work that she's doing, she's in the building. And obviously she can't answer every single student question, but you could take advantage of this opportunity if you see her around to ask her a couple of questions. I'm sorry if you now get mobbed everywhere you go, Ava. Apologies. So yeah, thank you so much for that. It's been super useful. You've been really open and really relatable, and I think the students will have benefited from that massively. So thank you, Ava. Guys, next one is 11:30. We have Asa Paluzzo. She's an illustrator. She's worked in the games industry. She's also an ambassador for women in games. So that should be amazing. We'll see her at 11:30. And I will see you guys then. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.